Two-time MVP. You need to win this series, and you need to be dominant. There is no excuse. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate you for tuning in today. This is the show that values time. I value mine. You should value yours. So I appreciate you spending some of that value time here with me today. So I was watching the game last night, and I think it's an outlier game in that series. I don't think Paul George particularly played well, despite what his overall stats may show. He did shoot 36% from the field and went really cold in that third and fourth quarter, despite his bank shot to end the third quarter. I don't think Chris Paul and Devin Booker will play like that again. In the first half, they both went 2 for 10 from the field. I think they'll bounce back and be much better going forward. Ayton was still pretty much had an Ayton-esque game. Zubac went crazy offensive rebounds. The Clippers played desperate. They played with a lot of energy. That's what they're supposed to do when you're down 0-2 going home. So congrats to them for last night, but I don't think they can win this series. What I am realizing, though, how bad the Eastern Conference is. The Western Conference is acknowledged has been better for the better part of 2 decades. I mean, look at even the dynasties that have come out. In the 2000s, the Lakers and the Spurs are your 2 dynasties, both out of the West. The only teams to win coming out of the East were Detroit and Boston. When the 2010s, LeBron's run in Miami, which you would have said, oh, the Heat, that was supposed to be the dynastic team. That's supposed to be the best team in the league. He still went 2 for 2, splitting with the 2 West teams, the Mavericks and the Spurs. And then the Spurs picked up another title. And then the Warriors obviously came in. They picked up a bunch of titles. LeBron got 3 titles in the East last decade. The rest went to the Western Conference, including LeBron getting one in the Western Conference. The NBA Finals is essentially the Western Conference Finals. The Suns and the Clippers, I think, are the 2 best teams remaining. Either of them, and I don't see the Clippers winning the series, but if the Clippers or Suns make it to the finals, whichever does, I think they are beating the Hawks or Bucks in 5 or 6 convincingly. And I mean convincingly. It's going to look a lot like last year, where the Heat, who were a 5 seed, who looked amazing at different points during the playoffs in the East, never really looked amazing in the finals against the Lakers. They looked like a 5 seed against the Lakers. They looked overmatched. They looked like they really didn't belong there. And that's the problem with the Eastern Conference right now. Post LeBron, Kawhi went there for a year, won it. Jimmy Butler went there for a year, his first year, won it. And now you've got a 5 seed that has a chance to get there, who wasn't even at 500 at the All-Star break. And I really like Trae Young and what he's doing, but and we'll get to Trae Young and Giannis here in a second, because I have some words for Giannis. So me growing up, I think one of the first clear examples I saw of this is 2013 in the NFL, which is a year I'd love to forget. So the Seattle Seahawks, this is their first Super Bowl, and they rolled Denver. Just rolled them. And Denver was the team that most people thought was the best team in the league. That was Peyton Manning's record-setting season, all the touchdowns, Eric Decker, Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, no Sean Marino. Like, Denver was going crazy on offense. Hasn't scored that many points in 7 seasons since. But the NFC Championship game, the Niners versus the Seahawks, those were the 2 actual best teams in the league. That was the Super Bowl. The Niners and the Seahawks were the 2 best teams, and that game reflected what the Super Bowl should have been, which is the 2 best teams in the league. Seattle played them tough. I think won that game by 4. Went and played Denver and won that game by like 100. We don't need to put that one on screen. I don't need that score. Trust me. It's okay. It's okay. We don't need to put that score on screen. And with this finals, the Clippers, who I don't think have a chance to beat the Suns in a full 7-game series, I think would be favorites with or without Kawhi Leonard against the Bucks and the Hawks. Think about this. The game 2 was amazing, right? One of the best games we've had in a while. Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul didn't play. Would you even watch Milwaukee, Atlanta if Giannis and Trae Young were out? That starts to show you the differences of the teams, the quality of these teams, the level of performance these teams put up. You wouldn't watch Milwaukee, Atlanta if the 2 stars were out. LA and Phoenix maybe gave us the game of the year with their 2 stars out. And man, the real NBA Finals is the Western Conference Finals. It's fine. That happens before. It is what it is. Moving on to the Eastern Conference sides of things, though. And I want to look right in the camera. And Giannis will never see this video. Giannis, you are one of my favorite players in the league to watch. Been a fan of yours for several years. You are a 2-time MVP. Not runner-ups, not top 3 finishes. You are a 2-time most valuable player in the league. I would not come on here and say that it's a knock or a diss to say that someone should be the second best player. Someone's got to be the second best player on a championship team. Scottie Pippen's one of the greatest players of all time. He was the second best player on 6 championship teams. No criticism here for Scottie Pippen. Scottie was not a 2-time MVP. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the second best player on a lot of championship teams. But these are guys who are all-time greats, top 10 players, greatest to ever do it. But at the time of their failings and mishaps, they weren't 2-time MVPs playing in clearly weak conferences, catching clearly lucky breaks. You didn't have to play the Sixers and the Nets back to back. You only had to play the Nets. You didn't have to play one of the big teams in your first round. You played the Heat and you swept them. You played the Nets, no Sixers, and the Nets, who even when you played, James Harden was on one leg, no Kyrie the last half of that series, and Durant was gassed. You are a 2-time MVP. If you cannot beat the 5th seed Atlanta Hawks with Trae Young, I loved seeing what he's doing, but Trae Young is streaky at best. Even the game he put up yesterday, if you want to go look at the percentages and how efficient, he was not efficient getting 48 and 11. This is not a team that has a big guy who should be able to stop you. I don't want to hear Clint Capella. Clint Capella should not be able to stop Giannis. No one on the wing should be able to stop you from getting to the rim. I'm going to say it again. You're a 2-time league MVP. You are a guy who should be averaging 30 plus in this series against a 5 seed Atlanta Hawks who really has no business being here. Understand Trae Young's played great, but this is a team with technically this year no All-Stars, even though Trae, you can make a case, should have been one. You are an all-defensive player. You have Drew Holiday, who's an all-defensive player. You are the healthiest team in the league. Atlanta's not even as healthy as you. DeAndre Hunter's not playing. 2-time MVP. You need to win this series and you need to be dominant. There is no excuse. You can't get it done now. Then I think the conversation of should he be the second best player on the championship team opens all the way up. Because if you can't do it here, it's just never going to happen, man. This is all the opportunity. These are all the breaks lining up. This is when you got to show who you are, what you are. Giannis, game 2 tonight, you need to come out and be dominant. And honestly, you should be winning this series in 5 games.